Good Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Chris Arabsky. Just in this afternoon, the two agents who shot Alex Preddy in Minneapolis are now on administrative leave. That is according to a DHS spokesperson, Tricia McLaughlin. Those agents have not been publicly identified as of yet. We also learned from a Homeland Security report to Congress that two Border Patrol agents fired their guns in that incident, something we have not known until now, according to officials. The report doesn't say if bullets from both officers hit Preddy. New this afternoon, after what appears to be progress in discussions between Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and President Trump, the two then traded barbs just about a few hours ago on social media. Trump posting that following his, quote, good conversation with Frey, the mayor once again said Minneapolis will not enforce federal immigration laws. The president then calls on Frey's advisors to address his comments and says the mayor is, quote, playing with fire, end quote. Mayor Frey then posted a response shortly after saying the job of Minneapolis police is to keep people safe. He reiterated officers aren't supposed to enforce federal immigration laws. Frey says his policies are similar to former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. He ends the post saying, quote, everyone should feel safe calling 911, end quote. This afternoon, tensions boiling over at a Minneapolis town hall after a man lunged at Representative Ilhan Omar with a syringe in hand. CNN reporting this afternoon that police believe that the suspect sprayed apple cider vinegar on Omar before he was tackled by security. This happened after she had just called for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to resign. The 55-year-old man was arrested and is now charged with third-degree assault. Omar and Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley will hold a press conference this afternoon at Carmel Mall, where owners report a significant decline in business as the result of ICE operations in Minneapolis. Tonight, CNN is hosting a state of emergency town hall at a community center in Minneapolis. This will be moderated by CNN anchors Anderson Cooper and Sarah Sidner. Mayor Jacob Frey is going to be there taking questions and discussing possible paths forward. Again, that begins at 7 o'clock tonight. This follows a change in command of Operation Metro Surge. Border Czar Tom Homan is officially now in control. Homan says while he and the local leaders don't agree on everything, the first meetings were a productive starting point, and he looks forward to more conversations, he says. Early indications in the investigation show that Alex Preddy was observing an operation. It's something that thousands have signed up to do and are still doing. Heidi Wigdahl explains.
In Northeast Minneapolis, Central Avenue is known for its diversity. So when ICE agents started showing up, so did the neighbors.
Yep.
This person wants to only go by Mike due to safety concerns. In sub-freezing weather, he stood at Lowry and Central, watching for Border Patrol and ICE.
I know that they were in the area earlier. There was an abduction right at Central and 27th earlier today.
And a possible sighting while we were there. Mike has been walking the neighborhood since the fall, known as a legal or constitutional observer. When ICE is spotted, Mike starts recording.
I've seen observers get taken out of their car. I've witnessed people be pepper sprayed. When Greg Bovino came into Northeast, I saw them pepper spray multiple people. So I've seen a lot of the harm that they're causing to our community.
The Trump administration has criticized the tactics of observers, but the First Amendment protects citizens' right to observe as long as they're not interfering.
I mean, they threw tear gas at every intersection.
Mike was there.
It felt like a war zone.
After federal agents shot and killed Alex Preddy, who was holding his phone up in the moments before his death. And it was through others' recording that the world saw multiple angles of what happened that differed from the Trump administration's narrative.
It's scary knowing that I'm doing the same thing and that, I could lose my life, or any of us could lose our lives for simply exercising our First Amendment right. It doesn't make me scared to do it, though, because I know that what we're doing is the right thing.
ICE is still here, and even if they're making these changes and taking out Greg and bringing in whoever, they're still here, and that's not okay.
Clemma Mueller is not a trained legal observer, but she's keeping an eye out while her hands stay busy.
In World War II in Norway, people knitted red hats as a sign of the resistance against the occupation by the Nazis. There are individuals who are scared, probably because they're directly targeted, but I'm not scared. I am just absolutely furious.
So they'll keep showing up, for as long as they need to.
Sounds good.
Thank you, man.
Good seeing you.
Heidi says that many groups have been offering trainings to become a constitutional observer. The Immigration Defense Network is doing a 30-city Midwest tour training others. Right now they're in the Fargo-Moorhead area, the 6th stop on their tour. And also right now they're in Fargo-Moorhead right now. For the first time, we are hearing from a key witness who filmed everything that happened leading up to that shooting. Several videos from the scene show Stella Carlson filming from the sidewalk in her pink coat. Many appeared to call her the Pink Coat Lady. She also shared her video with a close-up view of that encounter. Carlson told CNN that she was on her way to a job to paint kids' faces when she heard the whistles and decided to drive by and see what was happening. She says once she got there, she knew she had to stop.
This person was calm and was handling it with grace and consistency and definitely without threat. The agents are not a part of that, I think, because I watched him die. I watched him die. I remember him arching his back and his head rolling back, and it was so fast moving, but not for me. Like, when they left, when they fled, which now I see, that after the shooting they decided to just scatter and save themselves.
A candlelight vigil will be held at the VA hospital in Minneapolis tonight. It is in honor of Alex Preddy. Several veterans and law enforcement officials gathered at that memorial site yesterday. Colleen Rowley was an FBI agent for 24 years, 13 of which she spent as the legal counsel for the regional FBI office based in Minnesota. As a staff attorney, she taught agents and police officers about constitutional law, evidence procedures, and the use of deadly force. Rowley says that she never came across a case in which state investigators were pushed out and the feds took complete control, as the DOJ is attempting with Preddy and Goods cases.
No, and not only it doesn't take just one individual, it is now a pretty strong consensus because those videotapes are the best evidence.
The group is urging people to continue protesting and are calling for another general strike this Friday, asking Minnesotans to avoid shopping or going to school or work. The Alex Preddy shootings could soon have They are having a nationwide impact. We are live from D.C., where the deadline for a partial government shutdown is now 2 days away. Senate Democrats say they will not vote for a spending bill if it includes funding for the Department of Homeland Security. But Republicans have signaled that they won't pull the DHS budget out of the bill.
Policy discussions on immigration in Minnesota are happening. Look, the president is leading those discussions as evidenced by his correspondence with Governor Walz this morning. But that should not be at the expense of government funding for the American people.
The fix should come from Congress. The public can't trust the administration to do the right thing on its own.
If all Senate Republicans vote yes, they still need at least 8 Democrats to break that deadlock. And today, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, testifying in a Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing on Venezuela. This comes as senators seek more information about the U.S. military operation in Venezuela and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro earlier this month. During the hearing, Rubio brought up the security issue and said that the situation in Venezuela was, quote, untenable and it has to be addressed.
And so you had basically 3 of our primary opponents in the world operating from our hemisphere from that spot. It was also a place where you had a narco-trafficking regime that openly cooperated with the FARC and the ELN and other drug trafficking organizations using their national territory. It was an enormous strategic risk for the United States, not halfway around the world, not in another continent, but in the hemisphere in which we all live.
Right now, election results are in for 2 special elections in the Minnesota House. In St. Paul, DFL candidate Meg Lugar Nicolai is the projected winner in the race to represent District 64A. That's the seat that Kaylee Herr vacated to become St. Paul mayor. She has 95% of the vote, with all precincts reporting. In District 47A, DFL candidate Shelley Buck winning as the only candidate on the ballot there. That seat, covering parts of Woodbury and Maplewood, was empty because Amanda Hemminson Yeager was elected to the state Senate. To some developing business news this afternoon, massive layoffs coming into Amazon. A senior vice president announced this morning that another 16,000 jobs are being cut. This follows October's layoffs of 14,000. They say staff will have 90 days to find a new role internally or receive severance. This is the company's biggest layoffs in 23 years. Hey, if you're planning a trip to the Boundary Waters this summer, listen up. Had some text messages with some buddies this morning. Permit reservations to camp opened at 9 a.m. You have to have one if you're going to be visiting between May and September, so you got to get those requests in. The U.S. Forest Service is reminding everyone to only reserve permits that you will actually use because they're in high demand. You can find the link to apply on our website, KARE11.com. Brutal cold is lingering across several states this afternoon. The damage from ice and cold is stretching from East Texas through Louisiana, Mississippi into Tennessee. Tens of thousands of people remain without electricity, and officials say it could take several days before power is restored. Look at these pictures. At least 29 people have died across the nation due to frigid temperatures, as more record lows are expected throughout at least this weekend. Stick with us, we got more news and weather coming up after the break.